Michael was on his way to the cash register when he suddenly froze as if struck by lightning. A chill ran down his spine, making him shiver. From behind the shelf came a familiar female voice that sounded like an echo from the past. "I'm sorry, honey, but I can't buy this, Mommy, please." The girl begged, her voice trembling with tears. "I've dreamed so much about this doll, Amy, honey, I really can't," the tall blonde replied lovingly but firmly, kneeling down in front of the distraught child. "But it's Barbie, the most beautiful doll in the world. I've always dreamed of having such a doll," the little girl sobbed, unable to hold back the bitter tears of disappointment. Her mother looked sympathetically at her daughter, then gently took her by the shoulders and led her to the exit. They passed the frozen Michael without even noticing him. He stood still for a few seconds, trying to control his emotions and calm his racing heart. Then he began to look frantically through the crowd of shoppers at the distant silhouettes of a young woman and a girl who looked so much like her, like a reflection in a mirror. Suddenly, Michael grabbed the doll that had made the little girl cry off the shelf and headed for the cash register, fighting his excitement. His heart was pounding so loudly it seemed to echo under the vaults of the store. Michael was shocked. 6 years ago, she had disappeared from his life, leaving no explanation. He had tried to track her down, but to no avail. He had nearly lost his mind. Even years later, he kept going back in his mind, trying to understand what had happened. All this time Michael thought he had managed to forget this woman, that his feelings had burned out, but now everything was back to normal. Linda was his true love. Time didn't heal. He didn't have the courage to speak. After what she had done to him. When Linda had paid for her purchases, Michael went to another register where there was no line. He paid for the doll and put it in the bag, still keeping an eye on the familiar figure. Then he left the car in the parking lot and hurried after them. He followed them until they entered the house at the end of the street. After standing in front of the house for a while, he returned to the parking lot. He got into his car and drove to the hotel. When he came to his hometown, he used to sleep at his parents' house. But tonight, after this chance meeting, he wanted to be alone. He couldn't sleep for a long time that night. Linda hadn't changed at all, it was as if she hadn't been there all these years. Of course, she was married now. And her daughter was so lovely, so much like her mother. A happy family. Their romance did not last long, but it was very bright. Before meeting Linda, Michael had no idea what love could be like, how it could change a person. In the end, being around Linda made Michael better, kinder. They met by chance. Some friends invited Michael to a nightclub. Linda was dancing in the club. She danced so beautifully that he could not take his eyes off her. He fell in love with her at first sight. Michael drank cocktail after cocktail to work up the courage to ask her to dance. When he finally had the courage, he approached her and pulled her towards him. "No, please. I'm not allowed to dance with clients," she whispered. "I don't want to be your customer." "I want us to be together," he whispered back. She looked at him in surprise. They met almost every day in her rented apartment, since Michael was living with his mother at the time. There they spent time together, lying close together. Talking for hours. They were comfortable together. "Tell me what's going to happen next," Linda asked one day in a quiet voice. "With us, what do you mean?" "We'll live happily ever after." "You're a fantasist," she said sadly. "We're so different. You'll graduate, get a great job, have a career, and me. I'm a dancer. That's all I know how to do. Your family will never accept me." Michael realized that sometimes Linda was right in her judgment, but that seemed so unimportant compared to his feelings for her. He was hopelessly in love with the enchanting Linda. Her melodious laugh, her sparkling eyes the color of the spring sky, and her unbelievable charm captured his heart without a trace. Next to his beloved, the whole world paled and became a blurred background. "I want to be with you forever, my queen. As soon as I graduate, we'll get married and start a new life. You won't have to work in a nightclub anymore, I promise, Michael said eagerly, squeezing Linda's fragile hands. The girl smiled enigmatically. If only it were that easy, darling. I will do everything to make our future cloudless. Trust me. Michael said confidently, looking into her shining eyes. He knew he wanted to tie his destiny to Linda once and for all. When Michael didn't come home for a few days again, his mother asked him to explain and he had to tell her everything. I met a girl. I'm sleeping with her. What? What girl? What about Samantha? Her mother once decided that her boss's daughter was the perfect candidate to be Michael's wife, and she did everything she could to keep them together. She constantly invited her boss and her daughter to visit. Only Michael was indifferent to both his mother's plans and Samantha. The girl his mother forced on him did not arouse any feelings or interest in him. Samantha is a pretty girl, but I don't like her. I love someone else. She's going to be my wife. You can't be serious, was the mother's angry response. Samantha is a good girl from a good family. That's the kind of daughter-in-law I want. You do? And my opinion doesn't count. Son, don't do anything stupid, please. His mother looked at Michael pleadingly. And who is this girl you're seeing? Does she go to school with you? You'll get to know her. Maybe she'll come over for lunch on Sunday. Michael naively hoped that his mother would like Linda right away. They decided not to tell his mother what Linda's real job was. They decided to say that Linda was a waitress. This dinner was a nightmare. Linda was impeccable, modest, and tactful. And Mom wasn't nice. She didn't insult Linda, but she treated her like Linda was an extra in the house. Linda was not welcome here. Mom, what are you doing? I don't know what you're talking about. Son, excuse me, I'm going to go. Michael, don't make me go. I'll see you tomorrow. Why are you so surprised? That girl is terrible, said her mother after Linda had left. I didn't like her at all. And she's a waitress too. Do you want to spend the rest of your life with her? Yes, his mother shouted back. And my future wife's job is my business, not yours. The next day Linda looked sad. Michael tried to comfort her. The most important thing is that I love you. And we'll be together. It's our own thing. And we don't need my mother's approval. Linda smiled sadly and hugged Michael. A month later, she simply disappeared without explanation. The apartment seemed empty, the phone number no longer in service. Messenger messages were never read. The club told him that Linda had quit a few days before. Nothing else, no idea where she'd gone, no new address. No one knew anything about Linda's fate. Michael didn't know how to survive the disappearance of a loved one. It wasn't the fact that she had left that hurt him. It was the way she'd done it. She had simply disappeared from his life. As if he meant nothing to her. Like he didn't exist. It was to be expected, said the mother Michael had confided in the midst of his despair. I knew it. I warned you that she would leave you. And on the weekend, the mother again invited her boss to dinner with her daughter. That was the last straw. Michael realized that he had to change his life, get away from his mother, or things would end badly. He finished college and then decided to move to another city. You're moving? All of a sudden? What about me? Have you thought about your mother? There was anger and resentment in his mother's voice. What about Samantha? What about all our plans? Michael turned pale and gritted his teeth as hard as he could. Somehow he was sure that his mother was the reason he'd broken up with Linda. Although it was possible that it was Linda herself. It wasn't their mother's fault that Linda had been so mean. I'll visit you, Mom. It's just another town. Despite his mother's protests and tantrums, Michael left. He could breathe easier in his new home. There was nothing here to remind him of Linda. There was no park where they had walked and kissed on a secluded bench under the trees. There were no streets where Michael had walked her home. And there was no mother who had always scandalized him and forced her plans for his future on him. The years passed. Michael got a good job, bought an apartment. He settled into the city. He didn't pursue a personal life. He didn't want to. After Linda and the pain he'd felt, he would never consider another relationship. He thought he was burned out. But when he ran into Linda, he realized that his feelings for her were still there. Michael decided he needed to talk to her. Ask a question and get an answer. To close this page of his life so he could move on, he left the hotel at dawn and sat in his car in front of her house. Linda came out of the house holding her daughter's hand. Michael's heart jumped out of his chest and he quickly walked over to Linda. "Hi, Linda, Michael?" She looked up in surprise and then did what he least expected. She cried. Unexpectedly, he pulled her close to him and kissed her. "Where have you been?" "Where?" Linda sobbed into his shoulder. "I thought I'd never see you again, that you'd never remember me. That you'd never know you had a daughter. That your mother was telling the truth." Linda confessed that one day his mother came to her club. Some of his friends told him where Linda worked and what she did. Michael's mother made a scene, screaming and threatening. She told him to stay away from her son. She told me about Samantha and how Michael was going to marry Samantha. "Your mother told me that I didn't mean anything to you. That you were going to marry Samantha soon. She convinced me that she came to me at your request. I didn't want you to stand in Samantha's way. So I decided to leave you. And then it turned out that I was pregnant. I even wanted to tell you, but my pride wouldn't let me. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry." "So that's my daughter? How old is she?" "She's already 5. They spent the rest of the day together, and in the evening Michael went to talk to his mother. "Mom, I met Linda. I know everything." His mother turned pale and slumped in her chair. "I did it for you, son. She's no match for you. For you." She whispered and suddenly stopped, looking at the frightened expression on her son's face. "I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you, Mom," Michael said slowly and clearly. He turned and walked out of his ancestral home, closing the door tightly behind him. "Michael, come back," his mother yelled after him. Michael got into the car. The doll in the pink dress was still in the back seat. So he decided to take it to his daughter right away. Michael smiled. For the first time in years, he was truly happy.